Hello, everyone. It's Wednesday, March 5th, 2025, and we've got a major storm system on the way that's going to affect pretty much everyone in the United States in some way over the next 3 days, and it's already starting right now. We're going to have everything from blizzards to wildfires, severe weather, straight line damaging winds, flash floods, you name it, it's all on the table. We're going to dive deep into every aspect of this storm for you. Let's start with the severe weather side, where we have a large, slight risk of severe weather tonight from Dallas to Wichita Falls, all the way up past Oklahoma City into southern portions of Kansas. This risk is mostly driven by hail and wind threats, but there is also a tornado threat highlighted by the Storm Prediction Center with a small 5% probability area right here around the Red River Valley from Oklahoma City southward almost down to the DFW metro. However, I think this threat is actually a little underestimated by the Storm Prediction Center, and let me tell you why. By the way, the day one risk we just talked about has been upgraded to a 10% probability. The tornado risk is increasing and we might go live tonight. But before we keep talking about this crazy weather setup, we've got to shout out today's awesome sponsor, Hungry Root, the easiest way to eat healthy. Y'all know my schedule gets crazy here at the Weather House with all these wild weather patterns, live streams, and of course, taking care of my two crazy boys at home. Things get pretty hectic sometimes, and the last thing on my mind is what's for dinner until it's time to eat dinner, and that can be stressful. Let's take a look at what the radar could look like tonight into the early morning hours as the storm intensifies. One of the things we've been talking about leading up to this event is the significant forcing at play. We have very cool, dry air racing against warm, moist air, and you can see this clearly on the simulated radar. There will be a moment when these air masses meet and just enough forcing will cause an explosion of storms early in the morning. I think storm initiation will happen right around 11 p.m. to midnight. If you're watching the radar around this time, you're literally going to see something that looks like bombs going off over Kansas and down into Oklahoma. Everything will quickly congeal into a linear mode, meaning we're going to have strong, straight line damaging winds racing across Kansas and Oklahoma throughout the morning. But here's something really interesting. Right when these storms first pop up, there's a highly favorable environment for tornadoes. Check out this sounding we pulled from the southernmost storm cell near Alton, Oklahoma around 1 a.m. This is a prime setup for tornado formation. We've got a sharp curve in our hodograph indicating high storm relative helicity or wind shear, which allows storms to rotate. There's plenty of CAPE, meaning lots of thunderstorm fuel, the only limiting factors. These storms will quickly merge into a linear mode, which is less favorable for isolated supercells. Plus, there's a slight warm nose, a stable layer near the surface that storms will have to punch through to produce tornadoes. But I've seen systems like this spawn tornadoes before. The environment stays quite favorable as storms track through Oklahoma and Kansas, and there could even be a brief tornado threat near the DFW metro. However, the farther east the system moves, the less favorable the tornado setup becomes. At least according to this model. That said, if you're in Oklahoma City, Wichita, Tulsa, Dallas, or even Fort Smith, Arkansas, make sure you have a way to receive weather alerts tonight. These storms will be moving fast. This simulation shows them reaching Fort Smith by 7 or 8 a.m. And from there, the severe threat will shift eastward into Wednesday. According to the Storm Prediction Center, Wednesday will be the biggest day for severe thunderstorms. We have an enhanced risk from southern Arkansas down into Louisiana and much of south central Mississippi, while a slight risk covers all of Arkansas and Alabama. This is definitely shaping up to be a significant weather event. I believe the biggest threat on this day will be damaging winds, with a strong chance of seeing 80 plus miles per hour winds as storms race across the Mississippi River Valley. Everyone in this region needs to be aware of this. There is also a tornado threat, as the Storm Prediction Center has highlighted a 10% hatched risk for significant tornadoes in Louisiana and Mississippi. Because of this, we will very likely be live tomorrow to cover the event. That said, there are some limiting factors with this system that might keep the tornado threat somewhat in check. However, I want to be very clear. Deep South events are notorious for surprises. It's not always smart to hyperanalyze convection using the HR model because things can change quickly. While this setup looks messy, making tornado development more difficult, it is not impossible. There will be enough favorable parameters in place, meaning that if a storm does produce a tornado, it could be a big one. The most likely area for tornadoes appears to be farther south, where the storm line looks more broken. If you're in the enhanced risk area, pay close attention, especially after 2 p.m. when storms begin crossing the Mississippi River. This is when we may see embedded supercells or new supercells developing near New Orleans. By the way, Mardi Gras celebrations are happening in New Orleans during this time, which means thousands of people could be exposed to this severe weather. Between 2 p.m. and 8 p.m., supercells could develop, bringing the potential for tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds. Everyone in the area should stay weather aware. That said, the tornado threat isn't as obvious compared to the Monday night event, so my overall message here is that everyone needs to be prepared for severe weather. Even if we don't see a major tornado outbreak, this storm will be high impact because of the winds alone. I wouldn't be surprised to see multiple considerable or destructive severe thunderstorm warnings with widespread wind damage across the deep south, even in areas that don't experience tornadoes. Storms will reach Birmingham early Wednesday morning, then push toward Nashville and Knoxville. While the system will weaken a bit, it will likely still be somewhat severe by the time it reaches Atlanta and Macon, Georgia. There will be a brief lull in activity after the storm crosses the Appalachian Mountains, but we expect another round of severe weather as it moves farther east. Wednesday's severe weather threat. On Wednesday, another severe weather threat will develop along the East Coast, impacting nearly 70 million people from Baltimore down to Tampa, Florida. The marginal risk extends all the way up to Canada, so expect numerous severe weather warnings throughout the day. The main threat on Wednesday will almost certainly be damaging winds as a squall line races through the region. Bottom line, don't be scared, be prepared. There is definitely a tornado threat on Tuesday, which is why we'll be going live. However, everyone needs to be aware of the damaging wind threat as well. Don't let a lack of tornado warnings make you let your guard down. There will likely still be numerous spin-up tornadoes, which can cause significant damage. Widespread wind impacts across the U.S. At the beginning of this video, I said this storm will affect everyone, and that couldn't be more true. Almost no one in the continental U.S. will escape this storm without feeling at least a breeze, and for many, the winds will be moderate to severe. Today, strong winds will begin rolling down the Rockies, impacting areas from Colorado and New Mexico into the Texas Panhandle. Wind gusts of 50 to 60 miles per hour are expected this afternoon, which will increase wildfire risks. As we move into tonight, notice how the wind field expands across the entire Plains region. Even without thunderstorms, areas like Illinois could see 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts overnight. Let's focus on Tennessee and Kentucky for a moment. We've already discussed the severe weather risk in the Deep South, but even in areas farther north, strong winds will be a major issue. By the time storms reach Nashville, sometime between 1 p.m. and 1 a.m., they'll be capable of producing 60 to 70 miles per hour winds, even outside of thunderstorms. In other words, regular rain showers, not just severe thunderstorms, could still bring damaging wind gusts. This storm system will have widespread impacts across the country, affecting millions of people over the next few days. From the damaging wind line of storms developing in Alabama, it's important to understand that severe storms could impact areas as far north as Kentucky. Even if there isn't much lightning, thunder, or hail, some locations could experience 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. This system will continue moving eastward toward the East Coast as we head into Thursday. Blizzard conditions developing on the backside. Meanwhile, on the backside of the storm, strong winds will also impact Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, and Kansas, where 50 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts will occur intermittently. At the same time, snowfall will intensify, leading to blizzard conditions. That's why blizzard warnings have been issued, and I expect these warnings to expand north and east as the storm continues to develop. Here's a broader look at what the radar could look like heading into the early morning hours tomorrow. At around 6 a.m., I expect heavy snow from the front range of Colorado up into South Dakota. Some locations could be experiencing 60 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts, which would result in full-on blizzard conditions. As the storm system intensifies, it will pull Gulf moisture into the cold side, forming a classic winter storm comma shape on radar. This storm will be near record strength for a March system simply because of how deep and powerful the cyclone is. That means very strong winds and heavy snowfall will impact regions from Minneapolis down past Fort Dodge and into Kansas City by 1 a.m. on Wednesday, March 5th. Snowfall totals increasing. While this blizzard may be brief, I now believe snow totals will be more impressive than initially expected due to the increased moisture on the backside of the system. The National Blend of Models, NBM, is now predicting a large area of 6 to 10 inches of snow across southeastern Minnesota. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment. See you